Hello again, I'm Tripp Rogers, and this is Tripp Steak. Well, first of all, I have to apologize because I did not do a podcast last week. It was one of those things that I had forgotten to do, and I didn't realize it until late Saturday afternoon, and I said, I'll miss a week. First time, actually, in 4 years that I have missed a week of Tripp Steak podcast. So we are back again this week. Got lots to talk about. So let's start now with number one. On New Year's Eve, I saw the movie A Complete Unknown. If you're not familiar, it is about Bob Dylan's rise to stardom when he gets to New York City and how he became an icon on the folk music scene. And then, of course, there was issues when he went electric in the mid-1960s because the times they are a-changing. I think it was a great movie. Timothy Chalamet was wonderful. I did not realize that Bob Dylan and Joan Baez had a relationship, and they cover that in the movie, which I thought was very interesting. And number two, it's kind of interesting that Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary passed away at the age of 86 recently, was featured in that movie too, because he was at the Newport Folk Festival, and he was the one that implored Dylan to come back on stage with an acoustic guitar as opposed to the electric guitar that he was playing during his set. And again, I just think if you're a music fan, you will love this movie. I'll be curious to see what kind of Oscar buzz it generates, because again, I thought it was really good. Ed Norton was wonderful as Pete Seeger in that movie. And like I said, I recommend it. If you're a music fan, you are going to love this movie. Again, it's called A Complete Unknown. Over the course of the last couple of weeks, there have been two stories involving sports media personalities who, well, let's just say their egos may have gotten the better of them. One of them I knew because from my days in Philadelphia. Howard Eskin was the king of sports talk in the afternoons in Philadelphia on WIP. He was the guy, he was the equivalent of Mike and the Mad Dog in Philadelphia. Howard Eskin was the king. He did television, he did radio every weekday afternoon, and he'd show up at games, and he was the guy who got all the good interviews. With the Eagles, he was very close with them. I don't know what kind of relationship he had, but every press conference, he got to ask the first question. Always, always, always. Howard Eskin had a very healthy ego on him. And, he had no time for me. I worked for a piddling radio station. Howard's opinion of us did change when we went and covered the Super Bowl and we did a week's worth of shows. He only did a couple of days. So I think there was some jealousy there. But Howard, I had a great interaction with him when I was leaving Philadelphia. I'm pretty sure it was at a Sixers preseason press conference, media availability. And I had a chance to talk to Howard, and I just said I was leaving Philadelphia. I was going to New York. And Howard said, listen, good luck. I appreciate it. And I said, I just wanted to mention I enjoyed working against you and all that. And it was a very nice conversation, very pleasant conversation. But here's the thing. Again, Howard Eskin had a huge ego on him. And I knew that. And everybody knew that. And so when the story this summer hit that Howard was banned from Philadelphia Phillies games because of an interaction with a stadium employee, I was like, that's Howard. And then all of a sudden before the holiday, an abrupt ending to his radio career when basically Howard Eskin was told he was no longer working at WIP. He was working on Saturdays, and he also lost his job with the Eagles radio network as a sideline reporter. Now, listen, it is very rare, unless it's health reasons, that people leave in the middle of a season, especially a football season. So there were some questions, and people kind of wondered why the abrupt exit from the radio station. Well, the story came out that Howard Eskin had yelled at a female employee at a station event, and she had complained to station management. Again, he thought he was the cat's meow. His son is the afternoon drive person in Philadelphia, and he thought maybe he could save him, but that was not the case. Howard Eskin, again, his ego, I think, really. And again, I've worked on remote broadcast, but there is no excuse for being nasty to somebody. None whatsoever in broadcasting. And I'm going to flip it around. The story that broke this week, FS1 is being sued by a former stylist. She claims sexual harassment in terms, and this is Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless, rose to fame with Stephen A. on First Take, and then Bayless left and went to Fox. He and Shannon Sharpe had a great show, Undisputed. But Bayless's ego was that it was all about him, and he made the mistake of ticking off Shannon Sharpe. And the problem was Shannon Sharpe said, I've had enough. I'm done. And he left Fox Sports. And Undisputed went down the tubes. Bayless found himself out of a job. Now he's the subject of a sexual harassment suit. And I will say this, I never had any interactions with Skip Bayless, did see him at the Super Bowl in 2005, but again, sports media, there are a lot of guys who are like Bayless and Howard Eskin. They think they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And listen, I know about ego because I did the same thing. I was guilty of that earlier, and I've been called on it by coworkers. And the thing of it is, I think I learned my lesson. And I think I learned you can't do this. See, when I was in college, I thought I was pretty hot stuff. I mean, I was working at a television station. I was working at a radio station. I was the cat's meow. And some of the people I went to school with and I would work with at our TV and radio stations, I just didn't think measured up. And I had one of our professors kind of really set me straight. And he looked at me and he said, Tripp, the people that you sit there and abuse on the way up are going to be the ones you're going to need favors from on the way down. I never forgot that. And again, I try to be a nice person. I've kept in touch with a lot of people I used to work with, and I don't know. Some of them may say I'm a jerk. They may not like me, but listen, that's the case with everything. But I like to think I'm on good terms with a lot of people. And that's something that people are not going to say that I'm just this out of control, overblown ego. Again, I had one. I'll admit it. Maybe I still have one, but I like to think I'm matured and have learned not to pull that stuff. I don't see any sexual harassment suits coming my way because I basically told somebody to do things that they did not want to do. And again, I think most people will say that too. That is Tripp's Take for January the 9th, 2025. Oh, there we go. Yeah, we're back on track. If you've got a comment or question, I'd love to hear what you have to say. And if you're somebody who I used to work with and think I have an overblown ego, you can email that too. trippstake@gmail.com. Don't forget about our other podcast, The Fantasy Sultans with the Hall of Famer Mike Scheck. We've got a new podcast that's dropping this week. You can find it on Spotify for Creators and also on on YouTube. Just search for The Fantasy Sultans. And also don't forget about our Sunday radio program, Sunday with the Sultans. It airs at 12 noon. You can find it on Fox Sports New Jersey, Fox Sports Jersey Shore, and foxsportsnewjersey.com. There are a bunch of radio stations you can find it on too. And that'll be on every Sunday throughout the playoffs. If you like the music of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, give a listen to WTRSradio.com. That is my internet radio station. Join us again next week for Tripp's Take. Yeah, I'll remember to do it. I'm sure I will. For now, I'm Tripp Rogers. Thanks for listening or watching. Make it a great one.